Ready? This is going to be a really great class. I don't have Aliel with me today, so it's going to be just me and you, and we are going to get into inner child healing. Okay? Well, since no one came on, I'm going to go ahead and get into it, and away we go. Well, where we are in the program now in quantum resonance therapy, the level 2 of quantum resonance intuitive development, what we have been doing so far is going through certain kinds of modalities, or I would say, like healing kinds of modalities that are quite common. And I'm using each of these to as frameworks to actually work with through different kinds of quantum resonance outputs, if you will. So what I mean by that, if you remember, we did a soul contract class, and we did also the one we did last week. Let's just say the soul contract one. Okay, we did the soul contract class, and in that we talked about how to actually review the soul contract in hypnosis, used it to actually break down how you would actually deliver this in hypnosis. And then also we talked about how we could do this in an intuitive session. So we're going to do that again with the inner child healing. Our last set of lessons, or at least very recent, we talked about the opening portion before you get your client into either hypnosis, which again, by the way, if we're going to offer an intuitive session, we want to alter them. So we do want to get them into some sort of state of hypnosis, which we have now learned that hypnosis is a huge category, a broad category that includes meditation, that includes in energy healing, anything that you're doing when you're shifting from your normative level of focus, logic, and reasoning. And even the daydreaming, even when we have someone take a breath and drop down into their heart, that is altering them so that they can be in the realm of subconscious, which subconscious is the portal, or at least the neighbor, the overlap even, to superconscious. And the subconscious is what is asking to be healed when our clients come to us. So we're going to continue in that pattern, and we're going to be breaking down parts of the different sessions, and we're also going to use certain modalities, full sessions, as the framework to look at how we're delivering these different options. And so here we are with inner child, the inner child work. Now, this class, or this set of classes, I should say, I'm going to focus on what inner child healing is, the benefits of it, and then the different ways that you can use it, 3 different ways that you can use it. And then we're also going to have an inner child hypnotic journey that I have recorded, which is it is a hypnotic journey, so it has certain kinds of hypnotic techniques in it. And also it is done generally so that it can apply to hopefully any kind of suggestibility type, because it isn't specified to an individual. So that's what this class is going to be about. And let's just introduce now, or orient to, what inner child healing is. Now, this is not age regression. Inner child healing is not age regression. And in case you don't know what age regression is, well, let me share that with you. Age regression is when a person uses hypnosis to take someone back to being age 5 or something like that. I'll be honest with you, or I'll be not honest, I'll be direct with you in saying that age regression, generally speaking, is unsafe. It is unsafe, especially because the way that it has been used a lot of the time, because there is a false belief, an incorrect belief that if you regress someone to age 5, that they are literally going to a true factual experience. And the thing is, all of psychology agrees, memories are not facts. So if we are regressing someone to, and the other thing is that the purpose of how this has really harmed people, not only is there an incorrect understanding that you're regressing to it as if you're just rewinding a movie and it's literally the only option of what occurred. We know as multidimensional experiencers that all timelines exist. And that what we would be doing if we thought about yesterday, we would be thinking about our impressions from yesterday. Some things were deleted and some things were never even mapped because we have different ways that we're actually bringing in information. Something that the police are maddened by is that if they take eyewitness accounts of an incident, there were people standing around, they get all kinds of different accounts because people have different ways that they perceive and how it gets actually retained. So you see how memories are not facts and from any way that you look at it. And so the other incorrect assumption or understanding about taking someone back with the thought that it would be a true factual historical event is that people were using it with the guide, with the person who's the hypnotist, with the assumption that they were going to find something that was traumatic. And honestly, they were in the 70s and some of the 80s, they had the assumption that there was childhood sexual abuse. And then they were basically making those suggestions under hypnosis. I'm giving you a whole thing because I think it's really important for us to be clear about this. Because if you start using hypnosis in any way, or if you use inner child healing, it's really important for you to have a deep grasp of how to keep your clients safe. And that is both with what you know about it and how you set them up for it. So just to give you the history of it. So in the United States, testimony that derived from hypnosis is inadmissible in court. And as a hypnotherapist, I am glad for that. This is not a slap in the face of the hypnotherapists. It is actually validating the power of hypnosis. And so there was this, honestly, there was a lot of weird kinds of therapy or exploration that happened in the 60s through the 80s, and not all therapy, but there were these strange sects, SETC, of therapists who were pursuing certain theories that were not founded. And one of them was that actually caused this problem, this injury to people when they were using hypnosis as an age regression tool. There was an assumption that particularly women who were overweight, that the reason, this is the first problem, the reason that they were overweight was because they were definitely molested as a child. I mean, that is such a reach to make that assumption. So that was the first error. And then the second is they just really didn't either know or didn't care about the power of suggestion in hypnosis. So they would induce people into hypnosis with the assumption and with basically the intention to pull up the information that someone molested them. So basically, while a person was highly suggestible in hypnosis, they would say, "So who put you to bed that night? Was it Dad?" "Yeah." "Oh, that was a suggestion." "Was it Dad?" Is a suggestion. "Where did his hands go? Did they go there?" And families were being destroyed because the person who had that hypnotic suggestion, it feels real. The subconscious mind is now under the belief of it. This again is showing us the power of our hypnosis and of the subconscious mind. So families were destroyed, as you can imagine. How terrible that would be for that happening to people for which that was not a part of something that had happened in their family. And then, of course, where that did happen in families, that now we've got some confusion about, false flags. And I just can't. I'm so glad that I didn't really have to come up as an adult during that time. So anyway, their age regression. And now the only kind of a regression, well, we have past life regression. Obviously, past life regression is not, we don't take that as an absolute truth. at least not of this lifetime. We take it as a symbol, as an archetype, sort of like a dream. Now it has value. The intention is for it to have value to us in this life and at this time, in the same way that the inner child work has value to us at this time. But we're working with it archetypally. But I was going to say that another way that, regressing someone is if we regress someone to yesterday or last week because they lost their necklace. You know what I mean? Like, that's safe. There's nothing dangerous happening there. And that might be something that they could actually, they may have seen it in the corner of their eye or put it away and they forgot they put it away. And the subconscious may actually have memory of that. It may not, but it may. So anyway, it is not age regression. It is also not trauma reprocessing. It is not putting a client into trauma again. We do not need to put them in the place of actually an event, because again, there could be a misunderstanding of something that truly happened, and it may or may not have. And even if it has, if they aren't remembering it, this is another thing to cover in this discussion. The use of hypnosis to go find repressed memories is also incredibly unsafe. Why? Because if there is a memory that is truly repressed, which it's not actually as common as you might assume, if there is a memory that is truly repressed, it's because your psyche knows that it needs to be kept away. It's because it is too threatening and damaging to the psyche at this time, and you don't have, the client doesn't have the resources to actually be safe in processing it. Or we could even say the soul knows. Put that away until there is greater strength. There is greater strength, or never, or it just doesn't have to be brought up. It is like if I fell on my bike and I got this terrible, have you ever had road rash? Oh, it's the worst, like a big scab. It's so painful, and it's just a huge scab. Well, if we went in there and tried to poke around to a repressed memory, it would be like ripping that scab off. All that's going to do is create more injury, right? So the psyche knows we are incredibly nuanced and intelligent beings. Your soul would know if that memory is repressed, it needs to stay that way, and it would happen naturally. And then on the other hand, is if a person is similar to the other age regression misunderstanding. If a hypnotist is going in with the assumption that there is a repressed memory, and with the assumption there is something terrible, some trauma to uncover, then it could just suggest a repressed memory and actually implant one rather than uncovering one. So you see what I mean? And so what we are doing with inner child work is we are very gently and compassionately nurturing, loving, and holding space for the inner child. We do not want to traumatize children, whether they are children walking around with their 5-year-old little persons right now, or they are the archetypal true inner child that we have. So we want to approach inner child work the way we would approach a child. We're working with what the inner child actually is. Like I said, it's archetypal. We're working with the emotional body's symbolic language, not fixed memories, nor are there facts. We're working with impressions that are still being carried, possibly from that time. And again, impressions, if we're adults and we have, we're going to perceive something in different kinds of ways that may not be factual. As a child, we don't have logic, reasoning, willpower, decision making. We don't have that mental processing. And so we could witness something that was just a lot and maybe wasn't actually, it was misunderstood by the child because the child doesn't have the capacity to actually process it. And it may not be even at the flaw or fault of any of the caregivers, or of course, it could be. The point is, it isn't about true facts. It isn't about what truly happened. It is about now and how that inner child is holding on to because of his or her inability to process it at the time. We can process it now. And so this inner child archetypal, the presence will surface through the quantum field. She or he surfaces through the quantum field because all timelines and events exist. We are talking about existence, and existence is eternal. There in by its very definition, there's no such thing as not existence because there is existence. So the 11-year-old version of myself exists. The 5-year-old version of myself exists. And we are connected through the quantum field and the quantum timelines. Now, I'm going like this, but it's not even like she's, far away. She's in my field. As we discussed in level 1, everything is in the field. So as we are gently, compassionately calling forward this inner child, then what is ready to be healed will show up in the field. This actually just came out today. If it's active in the field, it's ready to be healed. That means it becomes active through our gentle, compassionate witnessing, or it becomes active just by living life. And the next thing you know, there's this pattern, there's this thing that is happening. And your inner child is a beautiful partner in helping us in that. So remembering all timelines exist. So what we're doing is just sourcing a timeline and the impressions that were possibly imprinted at the time or throughout the repetition of having it held in the energy up to this time. At any rate, it is for this now experience. Our role as facilitators, practitioners, or, intuitives or hypnotists is to attune to this child aspect and facilitate compassionate coherence with the child. Not to correct, not to fix, not to analyze the child. Definitely not. We are not talking about analysis. We want to remember that we are to stay in scope. This is not about treating trauma. That is something that requires very specific training, and even those who are specifically trained, they have to treat it with a certain kind of resource. Trauma naturally does get processed in the work that we do, but it doesn't have to be. We don't treat it. It just happens as we are helping the client to be rebuilt in themselves, to be fortified in their sovereignty as a true loving being who is capable of manifesting and creating, and by building them up in that way, and that we are also bringing in the evidence from the unseen realms, from the universe, from their soul, higher self. We are bringing in the evidence that they can and that they are that valuable. We're helping them to restore their self-value. That's all we need to do, because then the energy that is arrested in certain places, such as in trauma, then is able to just be processed by the resilience and by the sovereignty that they now have. It's like now they have an inner flame that has the strength to melt away the ice cubes of the trauma that is being crystallized and held there. So that is our place. We are holding an intuitive, energetic space for integration and compassionate coherence. That is the setup for our class. And as I go forward, I'm going to break it down in a few different ways, including a setup that you can give your client before you head into an inner child working. Some of the benefits of inner child healing. One benefit is, you could say, that it actually is able to create a softening in the emotional body, a pliability, a resilience, and it is restoring a kind of regulation. Helps us to regulate any fear-based responses or reactions, and any of those that might actually be blocking your intuitive functioning and also your vital life force functioning. Healing the nervous system. When we are inappropriately, meaning it's not actually necessary to be in fight-flight, when we're inappropriately in fight-flight because of a fear that the inner child within us is holding, then our nervous system is functioning maybe it's underfunctioning or overfunctioning. Underfunctioning can be a kind of depression. Overfunctioning can be a kind of anxiety. So we are healing the nervous system through being able to release these impressions or misconceptions or even questions that have not been answered, or needs that have not been met by the inner child. This inner child healing, this inner child working, is a powerful way to dissolve outdated and limiting beliefs, those that would be held in the subconscious, those that are being held and arrested in the nervous system and in the emotional body. This is a great time to be able to have a powerful reframing. So if the way that it might seem is we can actually grow up in certain areas. And that's not pejorative to say, oh, we need to grow up, we need to become more mature, we need to become wiser. We're always on the path of growing up and becoming wiser and more mature. And with certain perceptions or impressions that the inner child is holding, if she or he has a question or an unmet need for whatever the reason is, if as the adult version of you, you can with one another understand those unmet needs and recognize that you can meet those needs now, then that energy can be freed up and the child can be free, as well as can you as the adult or your client as the adult. Increases our receptivity to spiritual guidance and to energy healing. And that means for if you're working with someone, as they're able to free up their awareness, their consciousness, then they're able to receive more of the guidance. They can believe more in the love and the value that they truly are. You know, it's hard for some people to hear words of love from spirit, from their higher self, or from their past loved ones. They just don't have, it's like it's a sponge that's already full, and it's full of these unmet needs, or it's full of the anxiety, or it's full of the depressive kinds of underfunctioning of the energy. And so this is something that the inner child healing can, again, move us really quickly through, help us to become even more receptive to the spiritual guidance, love, and healing that's available to us. Now, as a facilitator, you can find that it actually deepens the trust in the process. If you're working with a client for more than one session, you will be, the results that they'll have will have them wanting to come back for more. It also helps to encourage and I would say build the muscles of the imagination. It awakens the imagination. And an awakened imagination is really the realm in which we are playing as intuitive guides. We are using an awakened imagination and finding the way that the imagination is utilized for the highest benefit. And so our clients in the inner child working, because also it can be very fun, it's very sweet, it's very kind and compassionate, can help to awaken the imagination in a very powerful way. Can bring also a creativity online for us, to awaken creativity, to awaken and strengthen all kinds of relational experiences, even if it is with their own children or their friends or their parents or their partner. It can strengthen our relational functioning. And it's also just, overall, when we have all of this going on, then we have a greater ease of manifestation. In the same, anytime we say we have greater receptivity and access to our intuitive guidance, we're also saying we have greater access to our manifestation power, because we're releasing energetic distortion and confusion, and we're actually coming into alignment with that facility to just easily manifest. And then, of course, it helps the client to reclaim and spark joy in their life, spontaneity, wonder, play, innovation, because children are so innovative, so creative, and so are all of us who are now the grown-up versions of the inner child. The inner child can come on as a functioning part of your whole being. Those are just some of the benefits of the inner child healing. Excuse me 1 second. I just need to put eye drops in. One of my eyes is dry. I'm going to turn on the air conditioner too. That's better. Oh yeah, it's pretty warm in here. No wonder. 76 degrees in here. I'm probably just burning my eyeball. All right. Hi. Hi, those of you who have joined. Get myself situated again. Andy's here. Hi, Andy. Oh, Holly is here. Kate's here. Hi, everyone. Oh, Holly, you're still on your retreat? That's so amazing. Thanks for coming. So nice to see you, see your name, and feel your energy. Okay, I'm going to continue with the classes now. And now it's story time. Story time about a moment of how my inner child really, really helped me. And, well, one of the most significant parts of my spiritual awakening. And what was really cool about it was the person who was facilitating me wasn't actually like doing, like wasn't suggesting inner child work. So this was very early into my spiritual awakening. So it was over 10 years ago. And, I had my initial catalyst to spiritual awakening. I was having, some of y'all have heard this story, so I'll do the super quick version of this portion of it. I was noticing that I was waking up in the morning and having feelings that I would let bubble up into thoughts, and the thoughts literally had nothing to do with my life. Like, just didn't make any sense. By the way, I also dream not like myself 90% of the time, like a middle-aged, Korean man who's working in his sister's restaurant. Like, seriously, weird stuff. So anyway, I at this time, though, I was waking up, noticing that I was having thoughts and feelings that were not my own. I had never considered or thought anything about seeing a psychic or being psychic. It just didn't, I don't know. I apparently was kind of into esoteric stuff, but I don't know, the idea of seeing a psychic or anything about psychics hadn't really come across my awareness. I also wasn't afraid of it. I didn't think about it. So I thought, well, maybe, and I just had the idea. Oh, I had the idea. Spirit, was guiding me. And as I was shifting, I felt the sign of, well, maybe, I didn't know it was a sign at the time. Maybe I'll just see a psychic. My mind is really strong that nothing can happen, except maybe, and if nothing happens, it's no big deal either. And if the psychic tells me something that I don't like, well, no big deal. Or maybe she'll tell me a fun story, and then that'll just be fun. So I had my very first psychic session ever. It was 15 minutes. The first thing that she said was, well, yeah, you're an empath, right? And I was like, who's it? What? Dr., the counselor Troy from Star Trek. That's what, seriously, I was associating the word empath with. And anyway, that cracked open my world because, yes, that made a lot of sense when she explained it to me. And I immediately got a coach, an energy coach, to help me to be as her tagline is. The name of the practitioner is Caroline van Kimenad. I think her website is The Happy Sensitive. I think that's what it is. And her tagline is "Go from suffering sponge to sensitive savant." And I liked that because the other things I was looking up about empaths were very self-defeating and just I did not believe that I was broken. So it was our last session. We had probably about 4 or 5 sessions. I don't remember exactly. We're doing them about every 3 weeks or every month. And our last session, we already gone over time, and she was doing this like chakra questioning where we feel into a chakra and then, basically what do I see and what's coming up and stuff. That was it. It was very, very open-ended kind of, guidance. And we were in the sacral and we were over time. And I was like, and she was like, I feel like there's something more we're supposed to be getting. And I was like, oh, I know, but I don't want to take up. And she's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. There's something more we're supposed to discover here. And basically, before I started the session, I was telling her about this cat, Helen, who was a feral cat showing up on my back porch, pregnant. And I told her, it's like she's saying, I need help. And which is funny because I said it was like she was saying. And so we're in my sacral, and she's like, okay, well, let's just take a breath. Let's just, tap in again. And what do you see? And here's where the inner child story, part of the story comes in. And I said, well, I see a little girl, and she's maybe 3.5 or 4, and she has an Easter basket and an Easter dress, and she's dancing and she's playing, and she talks to animals, and Caroline said, "That's it." And she stopped me and she goes, "That's it. That's what we're here to uncover. You're an animal communicator." And I was like, "A who?" Although, no, I did know because I had an animal communication session with my cat before he passed. And so she's like, after we finish our session, go and talk to Helen, the cat, who was pregnant. And so I did, and heard very clearly, very easily and very clearly, because I was, coming right off of this deep energy healing session. As I said, the inner child working can open up your intuitive guidance. And Helen said to me, I can't have these babies. And I was not keen. I was not excited about intervening and making that choice. But long story short, I did take Helen in. I was able to trap her. She was feral. Take her into the doctor. She said, I can't have these babies. And, I don't want to have babies anymore. And I took her in, and when the doctor, brought her out, he's like, it's good that you got her here when you did, because the way that those babies were positioned, I can see that she wasn't going to be able to have those babies, and they wouldn't have been able to come out, and if she out there without any help, she would have just died, and of course, she wouldn't have had those babies because they would have gotten stuck. So literally, the doctor's like, she can't have these babies. So we saved her life. And she lived for 8 years with me and with her husband, Tom. So that was my inner child who basically got me here to this moment, because she said through me to my energy worker that I can talk to animals. And that was really the start of everything. That was the true start of everything, because I started practicing animal communication. Soon after practicing animal communication, mediumship, and here we are now. So your inner child, she has the template for this life path. And she doesn't have the mental acuity or the experience or wisdom that you have now. So when we fuse those together, oh my goodness, that's everything. Inner child work is so amazing. One of the best ways to approach the inner child is with the sense of play, or really just the way that you would approach a child, with gentleness, with kindness, with respect, and with curiosity. I just love when I go over to a friend's house and they have small children and they say, "Do you want to see my room?" Oh my goodness. Isn't that the greatest honor? It's like when a dog brings you their favorite toy when you're just come to visit. You're like, oh my gosh, I have been honored. You know what I mean? I'm in. It's so great. And I can feel my inner child just being accepted by that. So the inner child is, of course, as we said, an archetype. It's not actually even a full personality, and definitely not a fixed identity. The inner child can surface when we're in fear, when we're in resistance, shame, or any kind of emotional shutdown. It really is the inner child who is having the fight-flight response. Just the other day, my husband was asking me if I'll just share it with you guys. He's going to visit his parents, his family in another state. And the last time we visited his family, my cats were they had the worst time. I had on my nanny cam, my kitty cam, and they were crying the whole time. I was like, and I ended up when I got home, I had the flu. I got the flu. I was so sick and worried. And also at the time, Kankan was actually he was not well with his kidney disease. So I mean, I have as much as I love animals, my inner child had a lot of pain with animal loss and the different things that growing up in kind of a rough and tumble environment in rural Texas. So my husband was asking me, he's going to visit his parents. Do I want to come? And I sensed that he wanted to encourage me because it's my family and it's our family. But I was shutting down. I couldn't even answer him because when that happened last time, it like collapsed all of these timelines of all of the different times that I've been terrified but in my violent household as a kid, my older sister, I was the youngest sister, was always running to put me in the car because my dad was beating my mom, sometimes even pulling out a gun. I probably should have said trigger warning, but anyway, it happened. And so I'd have an older sister going and scooping me out of bed to put me in the car, and I would be screaming for my cat or my dog or my cats and dogs. And so when my husband was he was just asking me and saying, how can we do this? How can we? And I was so shut down and I couldn't speak. I was the terrified 5-year-old baby Tricia. And I knew it. And I was sitting there going, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. And I didn't even know how to share that with him at the time. So that was an opportunity for me to really go in to do some of that inner child healing. And then in even more casual, if you will, times, I will just feel like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then there's like this, but what if it doesn't work? And that critical voice, if you will, is kind of like it's an inner child wearing like a baggy suit. It's really, it may sound like an adult kind of energy, but it's really deep in the root of it is that inner child. And so you can treat that critical voice like a child and say, I understand. That's okay. You can worry about that. I understand, but I'm not worried about it. I got this. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I validate you. I hear you. And I'm going to just basically hold your hand and I'll keep listening to you, but we're going to move forward. I kind of have that inner conversation because I recognize that the inner child, she doesn't know how to move forward, but I do. This higher mind version of me, my own reparenting archetype, knows how to move forward. So fears and perceived blocks that your clients have or that you have, any of your fears, and I say perceived blocks because it's true, we feel blocked, right? And your clients say, I have a block. But I also don't like to validate blocks too much. That's why I like to soften them and say perceived blocks. Our fears, blocks, limitations, and patterns. These are all actually portals to get right in and listen to that inner child. So if I have a client who really wants to build a personal brand for their coaching practice, and what I mean by personal brand, they want to do a podcast, they want to go on YouTube, they want to Instagram, and they want to do that, but they are afraid, and they're afraid of being exposed, and they're afraid of being seen, yet they want to do that. So that sense of, well, I want to do that, but I feel blocked. That is the inner child asking a question. And that fear that we have right there, that is a door to open to go find that inner child and ask her what she needs. Now, inner child work isn't something that we need to do in this deep dive way that we're talking about. It can sometimes just leave the inner child alone, keep moving forward, or in the casual, gentle way that I was talking about. I feel a little bit of a fear and I'm like, that's okay. That's my inner child. She's just a little bit scared. It's as if you're standing on side of a street and a big loud truck goes by and your 4-year-old goes, and you don't go, also to the truck. You go, oh, I know, honey, it's okay. You also don't go, stop that. You're a bad person. I'm not listening to you. You go, oh, I know, it's okay. We got this. That's something you do kind of casually in your life. But you also don't have to keep digging down. Sometimes it's just being the mature, wise grown-up and keep moving forward, just as a little something there. But I think inner child healing is great to do with a client. Like if you're working with a client, let's say you work with a client almost weekly or at least monthly or something like that. I would say probably do inner child work once, maybe twice per year. And also just do some inner child education so that they can do that gentle nurturing and listening all throughout the life. And so acknowledging without activating the big deal about it, that can also be healing. Acknowledging it and just moving forward with some compassion and curiosity. As the facilitator, and actually even if you're facilitating yourself, the role is to witness, attune with the inner child, and support with curiosity and clarity and just presence. We're not trying to resolve or definitely not reprocess anything. We're just trying to soothe. So these are the kinds of things you want to get clear with your client. And so I actually have a kind of scripted pre-induction speech. And what I mean by the pre-induction speech, that could be literally before you induce them into hypnosis or before you begin the inner child healing work. Because if you're doing it as an intuitive or you're doing it as energy healing, you still want to induce your client to some degree. So they're not just like overthinking and analyzing it, right? As we talk about, we want to get them into at least a light state. So I have this pre-induction speech that I've scripted out, and you can make it your own. I'm going to go ahead and actually deliver it to you in the next section. So this is me imagining, I'm going to role play with you right now. You are my client. Before we begin, I just want to share a little bit with you about this inner child process and what it is, and also what it is not. This is a form of archetypal, intuitive connecting. This is not age regression. We're not going in to look back into a memory and relive past events. And by the way, memories aren't facts. Every time we touch a memory, that memory is changed and colored by all of the other times that we've picked it up and everything that we're perceiving now. So this is not about memories, memory retrieval, or even reviewing events. The images and feelings that may arise are not facts. They are impressions. They are emotional impressions. While they're not facts, they are important, and they are here in your awareness and in the presence of this healing space so that they can be compassionately held and witnessed. They are symbolic representations of certain energy patterns that are active in your field today. This inner child is actually an archetype, an energy that is living within you, that is holding emotional tones, unmet needs, ways that their creativity has not been able to be expressed, and other kinds of protective patterns and limiting beliefs, just ways that there could have been some confusion or misunderstanding, and of course, ways that the child didn't get what they needed, whether it was intentional or unintentional. We don't have to figure any of that out. We're only here to hold space for that joyful recalibration as the two of you come together, you and your inner child. Sometimes the inner child may seem afraid or resistant. Other times the inner child may want to be seen and want to be heard. I think it's really great to approach the inner child like you would any child, noticing that there is probably an opportunity to play, definitely an opportunity to listen. Encourage the inner child to show you what it is that he or she would like to share with you. And as we move into the session, Just consider that right now. Just imagine how fun it is to meet a darling child. And that's what you're getting to do. So we can hold that gentle and compassionate, curious, and maybe even a little bit of a giggle inside our heart, because children are a lot of fun. And they can surprise us with their wisdom, as young and as precious as they are. I want to invite you to just simply notice whatever arises. Notice it with gentleness. And there's nothing that needs to be forced. I promise you, everything that comes forward, even if it's a lot of giggling, is going to be the healing that is just right for you at this time. If we have anything that there's a part of the child that wants to talk, there's a portion of the session where the child wants to play, maybe hide, or just simply hang out together, any of that will be just exactly right for the process that you're having today. We're going to approach with compassion, curiosity, and again, that playfulness. You're not here to fix yourself. You're not here to ask about difficult things. All we're doing is listening and getting to know this inner child, this precious aspect of who you are. Now let's talk about the kinds of inner child sessions that you can offer. And the first one I'm going to talk about is an intuitive reading or channeling of the inner child. Now, this kind of session, much like all of the other kinds of intuitive sessions, can be somewhat interactive, and often it starts with you engaging, you bringing through the information, pulling it through, giving it some interpretation, or simply channeling it as a fluid energy. And then as you do, at some point, you're going to pause and involve your client and say, how is that resonating with you? How is that working for you? What do you notice as we're talking about this? So you, I'm sure, already have some kind of a pattern, some way that you enter into your intuitive sessions. So remember our recent lesson, we would do some kind of induction or invocation as we learned it. So before we do the invocation, we would do that pre-induction speech. You might do a little greeting, hello, we're going to do inner child work today. Before we do that, let me talk to you about what the inner child process is. Then you would do your induction or invocation. And now we head into the reading process. With your intention to connect with the inner child, that will actually direct you right into the place or the space or the download of how that imagery will come through to you. Now, I should say also, before you have the induction and then before you have the pre-induction speech, you likely would have had something from your client, some kind of counseling, something where your client is setting the intention. The client is saying, or maybe they even wrote it to you in the process of booking it. I'm really having a problem with such and such. Remember, their fears, limiting beliefs, patterns, these are the portals that the inner child is waiting behind. So here we go. We have our counseling, we have our the issues, if you will, or the fears. We've done our pre-induction speech, we've done our induction or invocation, and now here we are, the intuitive in the place. Okay. Now, your process of how the imagery or the knowing or the hearing or all of it is going to be what it is. With inner child, it's often great to just imagine that there is a child coming forward. So I think a great imagery, however clairvoyant you are, perhaps if you're clairsentient, you'll feel it first. Just have the awareness that the inner child is coming forward and he or she is coming through the portal of that particular thing that has been presented as the fear, because it is the portal through which they will step. And as you're imagining that child, you might, if you wanted to make it an image, then you might put yourself on a beach or on a path. I'll let you decide. See a little figure walking forward, and just allow, as you open your heart, and I just consciously have my heart open, I have a sense of my heart feeling as though it's like opening, it's like kind of welling up and opening. And I sometimes picture a flower opening to this way where I'm communicating with an animal or with, a spirit or a human. And as you're having your heart open and you're shining the light of your heart, notice the child walking forward, and it's a little figure, and it'll be coming closer and closer. And you just usually notice what the age-ish, about what age this child is. You can tell by the stature and just the way that they're presenting. And then allow the child to just come near you, and you could just witness the child for a while. The child might start playing with something. The child might start sitting quietly. Who knows? That it's endless, what any child could ever do. So start to describe this. If I were doing this, I'm gonna make believe here. Spirit, will you give me? Okay, so we're going to do a pretend session. So I'm imagining that I am facilitating your inner child healing right now. Okay. So now I see coming toward me a little figure. And this little figure is coming forward. As she's getting closer, I see that she has kind of a brown bob, like kind of bangs, a little bit of bangs, but the hair is like a medium-sized bob, and it's a beautiful brown color, kind of a little bit of a wave to it, or, and she's walking forward, and she's wearing a blue dress that's kind of like it's cobalt, but as it's getting closer, I'm seeing maybe it's almost like a periwinkle color. It's got like periwinkle and cobalt colors. And it's a nice long dress, and she's barefoot. And she has in her hand, it's a stick. It's a stick, but actually it's a stick and a flower. It's as if she has a stick, and then she has a long stem flower. Both of them are in her hand, and she's waving them along, and she's looking along the side here. And now she sees me, and she sees us together, and she's curious, and she starts to grin a little bit. And as she's grinning, I feel like this little kid is pretty sharp. This little kid, like, she's actually grinning like, oh, we're going to have fun. She's grinning with a sort of sense of, it's a combination of wariness. Like she's got some certainty of herself, and also an interest, like, I think we're going to have some fun. But she's assessing us right now. And now as she's coming forward, it almost seems like she's gotten a little bit older. As I said, I think I said she looked like she was about 4 when she was in the distance, but now she's grown up just a little bit as she's approaching us, and that's very interesting. And now she seems like she's about 7, and she's a little taller, and now she's wearing some boots, actually. Some nice little boots. They're really soft. Oh, actually, now I see it, they kind of look like moccasins, something like that. We don't have to be too particular about this. But now she's coming over, and she's drawing some things in the dirt. And she's drawing it she's put down the flower, and she still has that stick that I saw her with. And in the dirt, she's drawing now. And then she looks up at us. And now I'm going to pretend like I'm coming back to you as the client. And she's looking up at me. And since you have presented today that you're wondering how you're going to be able to move through this difficult situation, she says now is the time. Now is the time. And she has that belief in you. So now I'm just going to see if there's anything that she thinks that we need or she needs in order to help you. And she says that when you actually smile more and are able to let yourself really tell things to other people that are important to you, that's the best way you can see if someone is going to be nice to you or not. So I'm just going to ask her, have you had problems in any issue with people being nice to you? And she says, yes, sometimes that happens. And when I was littler, it used to really make me sad, and I would hide. And I would hide in my closet. And then I got so tired of hiding because then I got very lonely. But then one day my mommy came along and gave me a big hug, And then I knew it was safe to come out of the closet and I didn't have to hide in there anymore. And so now I'm just going to ask her if there's anything else that she needs us to know. Actually, now she's pointing over to another child, and there's a 3-year-old child. And so we're now going to go over to this 3-year-old child who's just over in another scene here. All right, I'm going to stop there. That was an interesting dynamic one that Spirit was taking me through. And with the 3-year-old, often when the child is even younger, actually, a lot of times the child isn't very verbal. It's a sense of just feeling, whether you're guiding it or your client is actually experiencing it, which I'll demonstrate that here in a bit. It doesn't have to be verbal or that she's actually telling you anything. She could be showing you things, or it's just simply that she needs a hug. There's so many things that happen in the inner child work. It might just be holding each other's faces and smiling at one another. But basically, you're going to be pulling through the imagery, the information, describing it, and again, being compassionate and curious. And at some point, you're going to just it does. By the way, that was interesting how it went to another child who was younger, and that has happened before. But often it's just one child, and that's all that session needs, one particular version of a child. So we're going to, continue to have Spirit bring forward the images and the senses and the emotional content of this inner child archetype. We are noticing the approximate age. If there is any other description that can help to add some of the qualities of what wants to be communicated. The emotional state, activities, body language, what they need is really a great thing to ask. Is there anything that you want to share? Is there something you would like to share? Or is there anything you would like from me? Just ask that. Or maybe the child will invite you or you and your client or your client to play. Treat the child, this presence, with that warm curiosity again, just like meeting a child. And then I always have an ending where we just let the child know that that we're always here. Now, I would say your client is always here. I'll say we can just let her know that you're always available and that she's really special and you really, really care about her and you love her. Anything, that feels natural for the client. And sometimes often there's an end with a hug, a really lovely hug. Often there's a lot of tears, happy tears. Maybe there's a gift that is exchanged from one or the other, or perhaps a symbol, maybe some kind of symbol. And I'm thinking of a couple of times where together the client and the inner child, it was like they were standing outside and we were guided to look up into the sky. And what do you see? Is there a symbol in the sky there? And at one time it was like there's a blue balloon flying through the sky. And that was the symbol that anchored in that service together that they had. So that could be an anchor for a future activation of this healing that came through. So there is one way to provide the inner child working. We'll move into a couple of other ways now. The next way we'll talk about for inner child healing, inner child work, is energy healing, or really this is something that I call hypno-healing. It's like a guided healing process. It's a bit more interactive, or at least it's more interactive the whole time than either one of the other kinds, than the intuitive reading, and definitely more than the hypnosis one. So in a hypno-healing, we would want to, like we do with the others, we're going to do the process of getting their concerns, the fears, whatever it is they are here to work on for this session. That will be the portal that the inner child will come through. We'll do our pre-induction speech, which is setting the understanding for what the inner child is. We will do some kind of invocation or induction. And then this is a sort of mutual intuitive experience. While you're letting your client guide a lot of the imagery, you might actually be seeing or sensing the imagery at the same time, but we're going to let your client unfold it. So basically, you induce them into a state. And then the way that I demonstrated for you would say, now imagine that you are in some place in nature. Do you like the beach? Sometimes I just do that. And they go, yeah, okay, great. You're on the beach. And off in the distance, there's a little figure approaching. And as this little figure gets closer, just let me know when you are imagining that little figure. It's okay if it feels like you're imagining it. And then the client will say, yeah, I can imagine that. Okay, so this little figure's coming forward. And now, when you're ready, just let her come all the way up to you. And then the same way that you guided yourself to notice what you notice, say, what do you notice about her? Oh, well, looks this way or that way. Oh, she's playing. Oh, what is her energy seem like? Well, she seems like she's, really curious and having a lot of fun. And she's not totally sure of me yet, but she seems to want to be close to me. Okay, great. Do you notice that you want to ask her if there's anything that she would like from you, anything she wants to interact with you with? Yeah, she said she wants me to hold this flower pot. Oh, okay. What do you think about the flower pot as she gives it to her? Well, I think it's really pretty. I just told her it's pretty. Oh, okay. Do you want to ask her if there's any significance about the flower pot? Yeah, just, again, Spirit's kind of giving me someone's session. I don't know whose it is. And then at some point, often the client will kind of get a little bit into the imagery so much, there'll be a pause, and you might see them smiling. And just say, do you want to share with me what's happening now? Well, she just kind of turned around and she sat with me. And I'm just noticing how sweet her face is. And now I'm seeing my own inner child. And I'm seeing that she really wants to make eye contact. And then when she does, she giggles a little bit. Great. I wonder if you can sense if there's anything that she needs or anything that she wants at this time. Whether you ask her or if you can just sense it. Yeah. She wants a hug. Oh, okay. Do you want to hug her? Yeah, I'm just picking her up and I'm hugging her and I'm spinning her around and we're laughing. Okay, great. So just keep guiding that process. Get that in emotional energy. Keeping it, again, there's going to be tears because it's really precious. It's really beautiful. Allow the experience to evolve intuitively. Continue to hold that space for your client and gently guiding them along. Just observing them a little and moving them along a little bit, It actually doesn't have to go on for too long. And then, as you can sense that it's is there anything else she wants to communicate with you? And if you would like, you can let her know anything you want. Do you want to tell her anything? And maybe they say, I just tell her that it's safe to be herself and that she's really fun and that I really, really love her. Okay, good. How does she feel about that? She's really, really happy about that. Okay, good. And now finally, just if you would like to, you can let her know that you're always available to her. Would you like to let her know that? Yeah. And once again, just say, and whenever you're ready, I don't know, perhaps you want to give her another hug or just, is there anything else you want to exchange? The gift giving might come up naturally. And again, if you want to guide it, you could say, and now I would like for you to take her hand, if you would like to, and just look up at the sky. And there'll be something in the sky that is presenting itself. Maybe it's a symbol. I don't know what it is. And that's going to be a way for you to, commemorate this and to anchor this experience in. And then as they complete that, then just guide your client. Okay, great. And now just bring your awareness back into your heart and take a breath. And go ahead and open your eyes when you're ready. Very good. Oh, wow, that was really beautiful. How do you feel? And then you can proceed to anything else that you would like to for the session. Maybe that's the conclusion, or maybe there's some more intuitive guidance that you can help with. So that is your semi-guided. It's your, I call that kind of energy healing hypno healing, where you're guiding your client to do that kind of work. So there's your second kind of inner child session that you can offer. And finally, the hypnosis version. This one is more passive, non-interactive for the client. In this, you will be guiding the imagery and leaving the space for the client to have that interaction themselves without speaking it out. They will be having it. Now, what I have for you is actually, I have my hypnotic journey that is recorded, and it's included in the section for us to do to facilitate ourselves. So we can do that. I also have taken that hypnotic journey, and it's transcribed, and then it's also basically just broken down in parts as it is. But I broke it down as a kind of outline so that you can actually see how the structure works, and you can practice with it. So what you can do is, in our sacred sphere time, is you can actually just guide another person by reading the script or somehow riffing off of the script, however it is you want to do it. So I've given you that to practice with and study. You can reference back also to the anatomy of a hypnotic session. So basically, what we would do is have the same lead up to it, where we have the counseling portion, we're finding out their fears. We would do the pre-induction speech, and then the rest of it is done with the client being in state and you simply guiding the process. Now, you can do it from a script if you like, or something that is planned. I tend to channel the hypnosis at the time, even though I understand the general arc of what inner child healing is about as a hypnotic therapy. But I'm still like channeling it. I'm feeling into the client and staying empathically attuned, as well as having the intuitive channel open so that the certain images are coming through at the time for me to guide them in. So instead of being like, and now now I see the child's wearing a blue dress, as you would do in an intuitive session, in the middle of the imagery for hypnosis, you would say, and notice what the child is wearing. Perhaps you notice what the child is wearing. Now, remember, I know that some of us have a lot of experience with hypnosis and some of us are new to it. And some of us have somewhere in between because we do meditations, right? So in our learning, we would be taking into accountability, into consideration, their suggestibility. So you would have looked at their human design chart, have a sense that they are more leaning literal or they're more leaning inferential. And at any rate, imagery is more inferential, and that works on everyone. So you just would be giving it to them in a gentle way, a gentle guidance. And you can always, this one is actually really great if we kind of make it more inferential, because it's so personally empowering. And what I mean by inferential is, once again, where you would say, and if you would like now, you can notice what the child is wearing. Or perhaps is there anything that the child is interacting with? Is she holding anything in her hand? So on and so forth, like this. So guiding your client through that experience. The anatomy of this would be, and you would have the pre-induction, then you would have the induction. A lot of times some kind of progressive relaxation or body scan. Then guide them. One of the best ways is to take them somewhere in an imagery in nature. I might ask in advance. Sometimes I ask my clients what do they like in nature? And because a beach is really great, but I mean, every now and again, there's someone who's like, I'm afraid of the ocean. So, you know what I mean? You can pretty well depend on the beach, but maybe someone else prefers a valley or, a forest. And so you could go ahead and place it. So, and you can also not even mention what kind of place in nature it is. You could say a place in nature that is very comfortable, maybe familiar, but definitely a place that you really enjoy to be in. You see how you can leave it open-ended? And then, as I've suggested, you could say that technique of saying, and then off in the distance, you see a little figure approaching. And just notice that figure approaching. And this little one is coming forward for you. And so on and so forth. Taking them through for a moment as the heart of it is to give them prompts for exploration. And I wonder if you notice a certain mood, or perhaps it's an emotional state that the child is in. And moving forward to another one. And if you could discern, or perhaps it's even as if you were interacting with one another, what do you think the child might need? Is there anything that you notice the child needs? And I'll just let you notice what you notice. And these kinds of little prompts. And then you can take a moment and just, after you've made some of those prompts, and you can say, and now I'm just going to be quiet for a little while. And you can just interact with the child. And in just a moment, I'll come back and we'll complete the journey. Give a little time, maybe a minute, maybe two, Another thing that you can do, even though they aren't speaking, is you could say, spend some time with the child. And when you feel complete for now, just give me a gentle nod of your head. And that's another way that you can give them the space that where they can interact in. So this is something that it's going to require your actual practice. Some people like to practice by reading a script, even if it's not actually doing the, inducing someone, maybe a little bit inducing. It doesn't feel like they're really inducing someone. And some other people like to kind of actually channel it or improv it. That's the way they get the feel for it. So that's why I've provided you with a script and a script outline so that you can get the sense of it if you would like to do this as a hypnotic journey. Now remember, of course, when it's time to come out, we wake them up all the way. If you want to use the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as I do, or you can say, okay, and when you're ready, we're just going to conclude for now. And so take a nice gentle breath in. And when you're ready, open your eyes and look right at me. Very good. And now just move your hands and feet. Yeah, great, great, great. Oh, how beautiful. How do you feel? And again, brightening your tone so that they wake up all the way, right? Okay, there is the overview of the three different kinds of the three different kinds of intuitive, or this is a terrible conclusion. Right? This will help me know that I really messed it up. There we have our third kind of inner child modality that we can offer. We'll just conclude these three different offerings of the inner child healing work by restating that sometimes the greatest transformation comes through the simple witnessing and allowing. And so as you conclude your inner child work with your client, encourage them to think about the child and notice the child and witness and allow them to have that gentle communication. Encourage your clients to stay open and continue that time together anytime they like, and maybe even if they wanted to call up a certain symbol or the image that was offered, and just reinforce to them that every time that they think about it, there's even more healing that is happening along those timelines. All right. I have the, yes. I have the, I'm seeing if I want to go ahead and show on the screen. Yes, I will. I can show it on the screen. The, oh wait, no, I have to do it this way. The outline. Will it let me do that? Oh, it won't let me do it. It won't let me do it that way, at least. I know what I can do. Talk amongst yourselves. It'll just take me 2 seconds. Save as a PDF on the desktop. Okay, that's it. Here it is. Is this it? That's where it starts. Okay, you see this inner child, can I make it bigger? Inner child hypnosis session. So this is what I'm giving you in a PDF. Now I'm giving you that plus the transcript of the hypnosis that we're going to do. But this is based off of the transcript of that hypnosis. So this is the opening intention and orientation. So that is, a pre-induction speech. Then this is the actual induction. We would do a guided, possibly something that brings them into their body, helps them to get relaxed. Then perhaps you connect them with their heart. That's one of my main things to do, connect them with their heart, get that whole coherence going. Then bring them into the visualization. Here we have suggested a staircase, which is a great way to induce them as a secondary induction. And as they come to the bottom of the stairs, they're in a safe, comforting inner sanctuary. Then meeting the inner child. And so when I say practice this, you don't have to, if you're practicing it with a fellow student, just it's okay if it's not perfect. You can be like, okay, so next I'm going to go, okay, all right. And next we're going to, you know what I mean? Like, I really want to encourage you to give it a shot, because that is the way that we're going to be able to, I didn't do the end of it. So then we have perhaps, and again, this is based off of the one that we have as an audio account, up and out. And then there's just some extra things that we are considering in this working. So that's what you have there. And now I want to see what you guys are talking about, if anybody wants to chat about anything, or if we want to do the inner child hypnosis. So I'm going to invite y'all to studio, see if anybody wants to come in, ask a question. Excuse me. The audio, the inner child hypnosis audio that I have for us is 27 minutes long. Hi, Grace. Grace is here too. Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hey.
Hey.
Great.
You're great. Good. You feeling good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good. I love it. And did I invite you, Holly? I'm not sure. I think you aren't going to be talking, but if you want to show us your face, whatever you want, or you don't have to. You missed the link, Courtney? Oh, wait, no, I just got it to you again. So, okay. Hi. How you guys doing?
This was fantastic. Thank you.
This class?
Yeah,
Oh,
for
good.
sure.
Have you ever done? Oh, there you
I've
are.
done lots of these. I missed 10 minutes in your number 2 version because my daughter's moving tomorrow and called me, and of course I couldn't skip that call. But I have done a lot of these, and I've done versions of what you're talking about. But interestingly, I have a new client that I think we've met maybe 5 times now, and I realized today that that's what we need to do in our next session next
Yeah.
week. So I'm
Yeah.
so excited to, just try this way.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do it? Which way? Which of the three do you think you want to do?
I don't know because I didn't get to hear number two.
Okay. So number two was the one, yeah, you can go back and listen to it, but it's basically they're induced and you're guiding them to see the images themselves. And so they're talking about it. And so you're saying, "Oh, and now, and what else do you see? Do you see what the child is wearing? Yeah, she's wearing like a blue dress. Oh, great. And what do you notice about her?" And so it's they're main you're keeping them in a state though where they can actually talk themselves. And so it's kind of like the hypnosis version, except there's a lot more talking and you're actually letting them guide the imagery a little bit. And you're giving them some guidance. You're saying, "Okay, now it's time to do this," or something like that, you know.
Well, I don't know if you already spoke about this, but if you didn't, is there a reason why you would choose 2 versus 3? Or is it better for a certain type of client versus another type?
Yes, actually, that's a very good question. Well, I would say there's a yes and also a no. So, it can be really great to just be facilitated and to not talk like any client. You know, that can be wonderful.
Mhm.
Just to like when you guys, if you did this, you're not going to be talking. You're going to be facilitated by the audio or, anytime, so that's obviously wonderful. And I will tell you that there are a couple of clients that I've had who are in their fear response a little too much. So I don't want them to have guidance over the session. Andy knows what I'm talking about. So I'll give you an example. One client that I did have her do some of this spoken work, and I found out that she wasn't quite ready for it because she's like, "Now I see this really dark energy." So you see,
Oh,
yeah. And I said, "Oh, that's okay. Any dark energy? Oh, maybe it's the divine feminine coming." I had to like really like tap dance to like.
right. Yeah.
And I had another client I know this client. This client is still very much in a state of really fragile and like a lot of blame. You know,
Mm,
not able to doesn't feel sovereignty. And so I did soul contract with her. I did past life. I did an Akashic record session with her, and I
mm,
did inner child. And I did not have her speak during any of those because if I had her speak an inner child, she may actually take herself into something that, who knows. So I
right.
guided it. And
I
yeah, go
have,
ahead, Andy. Hmm.
yeah, I have two other examples of why you might choose one over another. Um, if there is somebody like that who you know is in fear
Hmm.
and you have really good rapport, like for most part, I work with my clients for like months. So sometimes it'll be like 8 months, 9 months, I mean, years, right? Um, and sometimes I actually do like spoken for that because I've had enough experiences with them where if I leave them to themselves, then they go off negative and I know it. And
Hmm.
Mhm.
if it feels like they're totally into it and are ready, at least if they're telling me, I can redirect them during it.
Hmm.
And here's another example of why I would use spoken over just hypnosis is sometimes I have some physicals who go way too deep on me way too quickly. And I can use the spoken to make sure that
They stay up. Yeah.
they stay up a little higher and that they stay with me.
Hmm.
So those are two reasons why sometimes I have people speak in hypnosis because I know they're either too deep or I want them really deep, but I also want a little bit of direction over,
Hmm.
okay, something went wrong. So let's
Right.
not wrong really, because there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong, but
Yeah.
so let's redirect over here.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And the
you.
energy healing version of it is actually a little lighter than like the hypnosis interactive state that you and I, Andy. I didn't teach that kind of fourth version of it. I really taught you know what I mean. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
interpreted like type
totally.
2, like the way I would do that is a hypnotic state that's spoken hypnosis, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's similar
Hmm.
regardless of
Yeah,
what you call it.
yeah,
That's just because that's my practice.
totally, totally. Yeah, and I'll say that it's not that often that I have a client that is in such fear that I can't turn it over to them. It's just it has happened in like this most recent client. It's just very obvious in the session. And so I need to maintain the intuitive reins for her.
I have one in particular I'm thinking of who he just can be very negative. And when I guide him to like positive, happy things like light or something like that, and I'm like, find this thing. When I've done spoken with him, it's actually given me more information about how to guide him, because he'd be like, this is just a giant abyss of nothingness. And I'm like, okay, well, is there anything in the nothingness? Like,
even nothing is something.
Right. And so sometimes actually I will go use spoken just so that I can get more information about like, what is your thought process as we go through this? If it's not, working, if they're coming out and they're like, that didn't help me. And I'm like, okay, well, let's walk step by step and see where you went off track.
Yeah. And actually, for the point of why would you do it spoken? Why would you do it spoken? Another benefit of bringing it through for them. And that goes for the first kind too, where you're saying, how does this work? I'm seeing it and what do you, that kind of thing. But where you're having them visualize it and speak it out, there's like a really powerful embodiment that's occurring, because they're clearing out their intuitive pipes. They're envisioning it, you know what I mean? Like, and they're speaking it through their form, through their body. So,
I feel like it really makes it brings it to the cognitive awareness. So it can bring some things out of the subconscious, especially if you do get to that state where they have a little bit of the amnesia kind of thing happening. Yeah. It can really make it something that they remember when they come out.
Yeah. So really all three, it's not like there might be a reason that I wouldn't have a reason to not do the fully facilitated one on anyone. I wouldn't have a reason to not do the intuitive one for anyone either, because you're guiding that really strongly. It's just that middle one that you might have a reason why but it's still like, it's not that common. Not really that much. I can only think of three. Actually, I can think of three clients. Likewise, we're going to learn about parts work. And parts work similarly, like they may not be ready for parts work. Parts work is when you're like, you say, oh, where in your body is that? And they say, oh, it's right here. If it had a color, what would it be? If it had a shape? And this was a long time ago. And a client was like, it's like a little demon that's growling and spewing pus. And I'm like, okay, well, then we want to move that out, right? And actually I found out later, this person was deeply in alcoholism and I didn't know it. So yeah. So of course they had a literal monkey in their body, a nasty monkey. So anyway, yeah. Holly, we won't try to make you talk, but hi.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Are you? Were you actually trying to talk to us, or were you mouthing?
Talking.
If you're in your retreat, if you're not supposed to talk, you don't have to. It's supposed. Who's doing the supposing? You're in charge. You're the supposer. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make you talk if you're still being silent. But yeah, we couldn't hear you. How funny is that? All right.
Computer decided for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what else? What else is going on? Or any other thoughts or questions? Good conversation about it. Did anybody else come on? No, nobody else come on. Okay. Here, I'll put it. She says her mic isn't working. Finished last day. Oh, okay. Computer's like, well, computer says, well, I still need a break from you. I don't want to hear you. Yeah. Yeah. What else is going on, guys? Should we do the journey? I mean, it might be it's 27 minutes, so go a couple minutes over if we start it right now. All right, then. Cool. Let's do it. Take us all off, and away we go. All right, I'm going to start it in 5 seconds. So if for any reason you don't hear it, just I'll be looking at the comments. Let me know. I'm going to take myself off this now. Welcome to your sacred practice. In the meditative journey upon which you are embarking, we will be welcoming communion and healing with the inner child. The inner child is both a hypnotic imagery concept as well as a truly existing entity in the quantum time continuum. The inner child, similar to past lives, is a resource for healing. The intention of this work is not to seek true memories, for memories are always created in the moment. The intention of this work is to bond and co-heal with the inner child. And you are invited to come to this session with a positive, empowering, forward-facing intention. Any and all images, sensations, and knowings that present in this journey will be just right for you. And beginning now, if they haven't already, the eyes can close. And sending the awareness to the feet now. With this awareness, just allowing any tension to gently release. You may observe it, you may sense it. Awareness releases tension if we allow it now, and as this soothing, comforting, this relaxing and calming energy now at the feet begins to well up, it's traveling up the ankles. That release, sending that calm and relaxation now, releasing in the muscles, up the calves and shins, up now in the knees, and you may notice that it is also the energy, the field that illuminates from you, as well as the physical body, and allowing that awareness to soothe, comfort, calm, and relax, traveling up the legs now at the thighs, the quadriceps, bringing that comfort, that calm all around the pelvis region, and the low back now and up through the core, releasing and strengthening in the spine. You may notice or even just be curious about the spaces between the vertebrae and how they know how to release and how to align. Sending this calm, the soothing now up the chest and the upper back. Calm, relaxation now all through the inner organs as well, the heart, the lungs. The soothing, the calm now up around the shoulders and the neck. Here where any burdens may be carried now, they are welcome to just release, and the release and the relaxation moves down the arms, down the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, wrists, hands, and fingers now just letting go. This is the time that you have set aside to let go. And even wondering if you let go of tension now, if it could take with it even something a little bit more that you didn't realize was creating pressure. And that release with the awareness now traveling all around the neck, up the jaw, facial muscles, loosening any tension, sending the calm relaxation and even a serene kind of clarity all around the crown, all around the eyes, just feeling so calm now as the soothing travels up to the top of the head and even out and sprouting out the top. And keeping the awareness here, just above the head. And you're invited to visualize or have a sense of a light above your head. And is this light illuminating from you, or is this light illuminating from the heavens? With your awareness upon it now, just notice as it casts its lovely glow all down and all around. And this deepens this calm and this openness. It deepens it if we allow it to, this shining down. As if light could rain, it falls down and all around your body, your being, your energy, holding you in this warm, comforting light. And you are held in this embrace of light. And now welcome this light to be in your heart, to have a concentration, a focal point inside your heart now in the center of your body, the center of your being. And turning on this light inside the heart now is allowing the heart to communicate to you. Your heart is an oracle, this center of life, of love. And feeling the heart, allowing pleasant curiosity to expand within it. Expand with this light. Deep within your heart energy. You are also resourcing your subconscious awareness of how life is always moving forward to greater understanding, to greater freedom, to success in love and life. And the heart and the subconscious work together to bring you to actualization. And still in this embrace of light, concentrated in the heart, just allowing these concepts to penetrate, to further illuminate, and with the welcome that all parts of the journey are opportunities for growth. And as we welcome this communion and this interaction between heart and subconscious mind, we allow these resources that are truly you to do the work and the support, as the subconscious mind has recorded all that is in your highest good to be known at just the right time, to be understood, to be learned. And the heart illuminates it, illuminates this knowledge and understanding and growth with light and love. And with this activation of heart and subconscious, now you are invited to have a sense or to visualize that you are at the top of your imaginal staircase. Seeing and sensing yourself here. In a moment on my count, you will descend the staircase. And the staircase, it takes you into the deeper planes of heart and subconscious. The symbiosis of the healing energy of the heart and the awareness of subconscious. You'll find yourself easily drifting into the deeper inner being if you choose, if you allow. And at the bottom of the staircase, as the count reaches 0, you'll be invited to discover that you are in a comfortable space, in this comfortable space of your very own. You will welcome, if you choose, if you allow, the meeting with the child, the dear one who meets you to play, commune, and exchange love. Now, at the top of the staircase, on my guidance, descending each step one at a time, now at 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Drifting to that space of great comfort. And taking a moment to take in this comfortable place. And as you notice what you notice, how comfortable it is, and you may begin to realize that the colors here have a certain kind of joy. If you really look, if you spend some presence deep in this beautiful, comforting place, and even wondering how much more comfortable it could be with the right temperature, sounds, aromas. And perhaps it's a place where joy is welcomed, fun. as it has been planned to meet with child. As the time is right now, just welcome the child to be present with you. And perhaps you walk over to where the child is. And just noticing what age the child may be, what the demeanor is. And when it seems right, you may want to begin to interact with the child. And whatever the child is doing, see if you can also become a part of the activity. And you know exactly how to engage with the child. And taking a moment to ask the child what he or she may need or want to share. And knowing that you have the wisdom of the adult and the child has the freedom and the wonder of the open, untarnished, pristine, childlike wonder and energy. And you have so much to share, to exchange. You are capable of being the wisdom. The child needs wisdom. There is confusion. You're able to be company if the child is lonely. And you are able to play if the child so wishes. And even concepts that are beyond the child's mind. Love. The boundless love that you emit can soothe, sort, and solve any need for the child. Take the next few moments to commune, connect, to be with the child. as it is time now spend a moment to make an agreement between you and child, if you so like, to visit again. And perhaps you make the date and seal it with a gift, a shared secret, or an embrace, whatever seems right between the two of you. And you will follow the connection between the hearts and find one another as the time is right for it. And even just thinking or loving about one another. In that instant, this bond and healing moment is activated again. And with the mutual affirmation between you and child, as the images fade, all that is good, positive, and true for you, all that benefits your actualization, it comes back with you, it moves into your being. And bringing the awareness once again to the heart, where the heart will travel you back to your space, back to your time. And as I count from 0 to 5, at 0, drifting a bit deeper into that heart space to find the gratitude for the loving power, the faithful loving power that is always available to you, always available to the child. From 1 to 5, you will begin to come up, awake and alert, feeling so wonderful, feeling well, and even a bit joyful. And now at 0, that deepening into the heart space. And invited to feel a powerful sense of gratitude as you begin to come up and out now at 1. At 2, feeling a little bit of a smile coming across the face now, almost as if you can't contain it. At 3, with a big, deep, and satisfying breath in and release, for that smile growing even bigger. And at 5 now, opening the eyes, coming back to your space, a smile upon the face, feeling so satisfied, fulfilled, and joyful, that childlike wonderment, that freedom, and all of the wisdom of being an adult, moving in their growth, moving in their learning, moving in their purpose and actualization now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A wonderful smile of joy upon the face, present and here. Welcome. Accidentally started it over. Oops, now I'm gone. Where am I? There, I know how to do it. It goes like that. There, now I'm big. Hi. Holly Stargazer. Holly, she must have just changed her name. It says Holly Bittinger up there. Now it says Holly Stargazer. Well, all right, everyone. Does anyone want to chat about anything? Do you want to come back on and say something? Or do you want to drift? I think maybe, looks like everybody's gone on their way. Oh, but here comes Andy. Okay. Hi.
Hey.
Good. Good, Lori. Yeah, I just wanted to, oops. Yeah, what's interesting, so I did that live with a class, and okay. So there was a lot of waking up at the end. I don't know if you noticed that, Andy, as a practitioner. It was because I couldn't get people to wake up. They were like, I stay now. 5 more minutes, mommy.
I did notice that, but it was funny. I noticed it because I came up super early because it was such a crazy experience for me.
Oh.
So,
Good night, Kate. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to share anything?
I love inner child work, and sometimes what happens. Well, okay, I guess I'll say this. So only recently, like maybe a month ago, did I officially get diagnosed ADHD and autistic. And obviously I've always known about the ADHD. Like you literally cannot spend 5 minutes with me without like being completely sure I never needed an intake for that. Like that's obvious. But for many years I've been like, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic. But I hadn't had any proof or anything. And so interesting because I have very few memories of childhood. And they're all the same ones. And they sort of remind me of like what you were talking about the animals and stuff. They're like random things with digging up caterpillars and snails and frogs and things. But as I was exploring that, I was brought to kind of just a variety of situations where I remember just feeling stuck, but trapped in like my house, for example. And I'm thinking about like, so 4th grade, right? We got a new house and my sister was still younger than me. And so she was at a babysitter, but like I was old enough to stay home, right? Because I didn't need anything because I'm pretty self-sufficient and I'm pretty smart. And, so it was like, I just didn't need anything. But also in a completely empty house with the quiet, and we didn't really like, I wasn't allowed to have TV or video games or CDs or anything like that. So there was nothing. And I'm just having a whole lot of realizations about how much the autism really accounts for a lot of things that I struggled with. And it's so interesting now where I am today to be able to work with that. So for example, one of the things that comes up for me, and this is a mix of autism and ADHD, is this idea of object permanence. So absolutely cannot. I mean, if you ask me like, what's your favorite movie? Immediately my mind is like, I've never seen a movie ever in my life. I don't know. It's like completely blank. Right. And it felt the same. Some of the child stuff feels like play. What is, I don't know what to do to play. And when I thought about what I did actually do to play back then, it was really only things that were predefined for me. I think this is why school is so easy for me. It's like, it's predefined. I don't have to come up with what it is that I'm trying to do. It doesn't have any effect on like if you give me the roadmap, it's like, oh, cool, I can just follow that. I don't have to, I mean, I can be an imaginative person, but I can't imagine from scratch, I guess, is what I just realized in this journey just now. And so there's some interesting things there just about that understanding myself piece and recognizing, because, all that advice, right, is like, go back to what you loved as a child or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't know. You know what I did? I played school because that's what I knew, right?
Hey,
like,
well, But hey, that's what
But
you did.
right, that's what I did. That's what I'm still doing. That's what I'm still a teacher.
So
I've
it still
always been a
works.
teacher. But then I even tried to, I even in this meditation was like, well, what did I do like at friends' houses? And I'm like, I literally supervised them. That's the only thing my brain could come up with. And the ridiculousness of
I'm the
all
manager.
of this.
You wore like a little vest and you're like, I'm the manager.
I
Do you have
literally,
access?
I literally was, y'all.
So cute.
Like maybe 10 years ago, I had an experience where I went to a bar to catch up with somebody who was one of my best friends in 7th grade. And she was telling me all of these things, like all these stories about things we were doing in 7th grade. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't remember any of that. And she was like, well, we knew better than to tell you. You would have told our parents.
Oh, that's funny. I had that a little bit. Mine was mostly in high school. It was like at the very end of high school, I found out everybody was like having sex and doing drugs. And I was like, I didn't know we were doing that. I didn't do any of it. And they're like, well,
I'm like,
we're
I was
like, you
30
don't
when
do
I
it. And I
saw
was like,
weed for the first time.
they're like, we didn't tell you because you wouldn't do it. I was like, maybe I would if I knew everybody was doing it. I would.
right.
Now it's too late.
So yeah, so I think I love inner child stuff because I do think there's just so much, and I have been doing inner child work here for a bit, but that was a really cool experience because I'm getting new stuff out of it with these new diagnoses and things,
Yeah.
and just a deeper understanding. And it's so funny because this morning actually, I just got a genetic test back that was testing for the way that I metabolize different medications in particular. And there's some stuff on there that's, definitely like dopamine related and things like ADHD and autism. And I was like, I'm doing all this and I'm thinking about the object permanence this morning. And I'm like, I'm never going to remember why I chose this supplement over that supplement or whatever, because I've done all this work. But once I leave this screen, it's gone. So I told ChatGPT I wanted to make a guide to myself. Here's the guide, like the user manual for Andy. So it just added to like that dimension of like, maybe that's all I need. Maybe I just need like a user manual to like, hey, here's what you like to do for fun, so that my brain doesn't have to try to remember, all the things.
It's metacognition, right?
Yeah.
Some metacognition. Think about how you think.
Yeah.
And
And the problem is I do all the thinking. And then I like 3 days later, I look at like the result, just the outcome of the thinking. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why did I decide to do that? I don't feel like doing that. And I like toss it out and I'm like, all that work for nothing. Right. I'm like, oh, I did have a reason for that.
You know what, Andy? Look, I just noticed in your chart, in your human design chart, you're a quad left. Look that up. I'm not quad left, and I haven't like looked that up for anyone else, but that might be something fun to investigate. The implication of being quad left, and what it is, it's the arrows that are up
Yeah.
here. There's 4. Okay, yeah. I feel like because I hear people go, well, I'm a quad right, and I'm like, oh, that haven't really like felt into what that means or like brought it into. But you might find that interesting.
I haven't ever thought about that either, but I have noticed when I look at my chart that everything is left.
Yeah, the left is more active. The right is passive. So that just is feeling like, well, since you have 4 all of those are active, it might be, I don't know, you might find some kind of thread there.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you, Lori? What's you doing?
Well, Andy, I just want to first say how I commend you for walking this journey.
Yeah.
Both of my kids have done the same thing and discovered their autism as adults. And I'm a special ed teacher, or was, and a school counselor. And I noticed things about them and I asked teachers to test them. And my youngest actually went through the full battery of everything and got into special ed in high school because of psychosis, but they never caught the autism. And by the way, it was not psychosis. It was that my child was psychic and they were misdiagnosed. So it's, the object permanence is definitely part of that journey. And I have that too.
I do too.
And
Yeah.
I have decided for myself that I probably have that same diagnosis. And at this point, I'm 67. I'm not sure I care. And I don't think that journey is going to be helpful to me anymore,
Yeah.
because
I want
I'm
to say one thing about that.
aging and dementia kind of things, and it's all different now. Anyway,
Yeah. So I want to just say one thing about that, just for you, because I went through the same thing. I was like, okay, I generally think this is true for me, but I'm 42. What am I going to get? Like accommodations in school, right? Like that doesn't seem to make any sense, any difference. Like it's not like I mean, it's like, oh, we can fix it. Like I don't want to fix it. I don't know, but
Yeah.
so I wasn't intending to do it until I actually met the leader of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce in my city, and I met a psych nurse who was amazing, who joined our chamber. And I thought about doing an ADHD intake just for work purposes, for, like, how can I get more support for finishing tasks, closing doors, and things like that, right?
Mhm.
And just because we were already doing an intake, I went ahead and took the autism test. And I want to say that even though I knew, and even though I didn't think there was anything I would gain from it, the confirmation has done so much for my personal growth in the last just month and a half. There are all sorts of things that somehow my brain feels okay.
Lori, you're also quad right. I'm sorry. I just noticed that. Sorry,
That's
go
super
ahead.
cool. No, but there are things
Quad
that are
left. Did I
coming
say
to
it right?
mind
Yeah.
that my subconscious now has permission to be like, oh, well, that's just autism. Really random, really little, really stupid shit. And so obviously that's a personal decision and a personal journey, but it did make me feel like I could claim it as part of my story. And I like stopped hedging it, right? I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic. But now it's like I see all this stuff from 30, 40 years ago that I don't even think I even saw, even when I thought I was autistic. So I will just say that, even though it seems like, what are you going to do at this point in your life kind of thing? And I don't really think it's going to make a difference. It's exactly how I felt. And so I didn't do it for years.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids are constantly telling me that. I guess I feel like I'm learning it from them because they're on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so they just constantly talk about it. I'm kind of over it. Like, hey, enough already. Just be,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
a while. But, they're in their 30s and,
Mm-hmm.
I'm over it. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm a quad right. Is that what
No,
you
sorry, you're a quad left. I think I did say it wrong. I was so excited. You're
Okay.
just like Andy. I was pointing
So
out.
we're both quad lefts.
You're both quad lefts. Yeah.
Huh.
You
So
actually you have similar, not really similar because not really that similar, but I should show you like on it's like the two of you have similar definition and undefinition, if you will. I'll show you.
we're both generators.
Yes, and you have, so there is Lori. Lori's there, and then I'll pop over to Andy. See, it's very similar. Andy
Oh,
just like you have the same. Andy has a defined root. You have an undefined root, but it's very
yeah.
similar otherwise, just in the definition part.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then you're both quad left, so it's kind of interesting that you know.
Cool.
I took like it's totally unclinical, non-scientific or anything like that. I took like an online "Are you ADHD?" and it said I was 88. Not wait, no, not 80. Autistic. It said I was on the spectrum. Oh, well, it was like, I don't give it any credit, but I just said to my husband, I was like, hey, I just took this test and it said that I'm autistic, probably highly functioning autistic. And he goes, yeah. Like, you're
So I
just
have an
discovering that.
opinion
I was
on
like, oh,
this. So when I was in college learning about, so my degree is in learning disabilities and behavior disorders. And so I chose the college I attended because the leading professor in learning disabilities was writing the textbooks that everyone in the country was reading. And the main thing that I learned from that, amongst the millions of things, was that every single person has a learning disability. It's
Yeah.
those people that have multiple, that get in the way of themselves, and then they have to figure out, how am I supposed to figure out how to cope with that? And it, when you can't read, things like that. But I feel like autism is experiencing its day in that same way. Like, everybody is somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Especially on the social aspect of that, because we used to call it Asperger's, but you can't even use that term anymore, right? But everybody has not everybody, but a lot of people have a little social anxiety, and that's what that used to be called. And now it's not that kind of diagnosis, it's something else. So, I I feel like the label is only helpful to you if it informs you of something that gives you a way out.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I just don't like the labels, and I'm tired of, I just taught too many people to just let that go. You're not defined by your disability. You're defined by your ability to cope and to move on and become what you're supposed to be.
Yeah, labels help if they help, and that's it. But
I definitely think about it more as in like, and this is so autistic of me, right? More as in like, I am a research project for myself. Like, if there's anything in the world that you should study, it's probably yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can like dig in and figure it out. And there's so much that came from that diagnosis that I didn't expect because I knew it ahead of time. I mean, little things too, like I have cousins that are boys, right? And younger than me, and were diagnosed autistic back when they were very young children. And I'm like, I'm actually helped me have a conversation with my dad too, that helped him, because he says he's traumatized by trying to get me through high school, like trying to wake me up, trying to get me going, trying to make me go to school, make me do my homework, any of that kind of stuff. And so I was able to have a conversation with him about, I got an autism diagnosis. And if you remember back around the same time, right, like the cousins were getting all sorts of accommodations and passes, and, they were weirdos, and it was okay for them to be weirdos because they were just autistic, right? And we didn't diagnose girls back then.
Yeah.
And so it was like, well, you're just being stubborn, and you're just being lazy, and you're just being this. And so
maybe it's her period. Maybe it's her period. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It helped me have a really good conversation with my dad. It helped me have a really good conversation with my husband, who is also autistic and was diagnosed in the 70s at a university. Like, his parents had to take him to a university because, again, psychosis. Is he crazy? And they were like, he's not crazy. In fact, he's just like ridiculously smart. You're going to have to do something with him, or he's going to like kill someone. Maybe himself. But it gave us an opportunity to talk about our different kinds of autism, because they're very different. I'm autism ADHD, and he's autistic Tourette's OCD type of autism. And that's been an interesting conversation too. So yeah, I do think that everybody's journey, right, is completely unique. And I'm never a fan of labels in that way, but in the same way that, like, okay, Aquarius is a label that I can use to like just kind of use a framework to think about myself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That is one too, right? Like not a box, but a lens.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and boundaries can inspire creativity. And so again, that's like, we can think of labels as a kind of boundary and use it as it helps us to feel creative or empowered, right?
As a hypnotist, it's actually changed a lot of how I react to my environment too, which is interesting. So there's things now that I'm noticing that are decisions that I had made in the past that I now know are just like autistic, texture issues. For example, I thought I had a really hard time with a gag reflex at the dentist, but it turns out it's just like the x-ray thing is covered in plastic. Plastic is not a texture that's supposed to be in your mouth. And autistic me is like, get the plastic out of my mouth.
I hate that. Yeah, I do hate that. The crinkly thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I like had a diagnosis, I went and did that. And I was like apologizing to the nurse. And then I'm having this experience. And I'm like, oh, wait. Like, it's not actually a gag reflex. It's just the plastic. Now I can manage it, and it's not a problem anymore. Mm-hmm. So, it's really weird little shit like that.
Yeah. Do you have to get extra anesthesia shots at the dentist when you have drilling? I do too. You're gate 19, and that's all sounding gate 19 to me too.
I
have to give
literally
me.
just had a crown the other day,
Yeah.
and they had to do like 2 shots, and it still wasn't enough. And I was like, yeah, I seem
Yeah.
to remember that this was the same thing before.
Yeah. They have to give me. They
What?
have to give me. They've had to give me like 8 before, and they're like, we normally only give someone 1 and 2 at
Yeah,
the most. And I was like, when the fourth one, I was like, and they're like, can you still feel that? And I'm like, yeah, but it's okay. I can manage it. And they're like, no,
that's
we
what
don't
I
want you to
said.
feel it at all. I'm like, well, no, I can probably not move my body, And they're like, no, like she's just very, they could. And so I come out, I'm one of those ones that come out like this.
I know.
And I'm
I have a
laughing like,
sound bath that night.
yeah.
I had a public sound bath that night. So when they were at 2 and they were like, can you still feel that? I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, we want more. And I'm like, no, like this is never going to wear off. And I'm like, haven't you ever had anybody use hypnosis for dental work? And they're like, no, what?
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I can manage it. I'll just hypnotize myself. I mean, you've gotten it a lot of the way, but I can still feel it. And if it goes really deep, I might flinch a little bit, but I'll keep breathing. And they're like, "No, we don't want you to feel it at all." And I'm like, "But it's scary to have your face dead for half a day. I'm afraid it's never going to come back."
I wasn't scared. I was just like, I
I
am
get a
not
little
walking
scared.
into this party half like droopy.
I get a little scared, but my husband loves it because we just laugh, and I'm like, "Look at me, look at me." He goes, "It's not the mirror, it's you." And I'm like, "I know." That's what he told me once.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, yeah, that's funny. I was wondering if I'm meaning to ask another person who's gate 19 because the gate 19s have the most sensitive bodies.
That's really interesting because, okay, so with the genetic results from today, that's what I'm talking with ChatGPT about right now is all of the additional sensitivities. And it's talking about how like autism might actually just be a symptom of all of the sensitivities because that's kind of what autism is like you're overstimulated.
Yeah. And you can't prioritize. Exactly. Yeah. One
Yeah.
time when I was at HMI and we were in person still, and I was trying to listen because everybody was in the hallway and I was trying to listen to someone. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I can't focus because there was too much going on. And they were like, and someone looked at me strange and I was like, oh, great. They just labeled me as autistic, which is fine. I don't care. Or one time I was in a parking lot with a colleague in my old job and I was in a parking structure and a siren, a car, like an ambulance went by and it like caught the sound inside and it was really reverberating loudly. And I was walking up to him like this and he goes, "Is that bothering you?" I'm like, "How is it?" It's like breaking my brain. And he's like, "I can barely hear it." I'm like, "Well, then you're deaf."
It actually
Anyway.
suggested to me, like when I was working through all of my different things, it actually suggested to me that I might be like misophonia and everything. And I'm like, that's so weird because I don't do it with sounds. And my best friend has misophonia, so I'm actually ended up doing a ton of hypnosis for misophonia right now, and sound sensitivities. I've got multiple clients in my practice who are like sound sensitive. And I haven't noticed that for myself, but maybe I'm just so overstimulated that I can't even tell. But I think for me, it's more touch and sensations for sure.
Yeah.
And my daughter has that too. And we were just in Nashville for her graduation from Vanderbilt. And I was like, well, come on, let's go hear some live music. We're in Nashville. And she's like, oh, I can't do live sound.
It's loud. Yeah. Does she have gate 19? Do you know?
Her chart's right here.
I mean, I know she's a mental projector, so she would have a lot of environmental sensitivities anyway.
Yeah.
It's in the root.
No. Oh, no.
Okay.
No, she doesn't have that.
Does she have 22 or 12? 22 is...
No, she doesn't have 22.
22 is in the solar plexus. 12 is in the throat.
Yeah. No, wait. I can't find 12.
It's in the throat on the right side.
Oh, that is 12. Yes, she has 12.
Okay. It's what is 1222. I know she doesn't have both because I know she doesn't have that channel.
Oh, yeah. So it's at 12, but not at 22.
Yeah,
right. It's a hidden gate.
So 1222 is the hearing channel. It's like the psychic hearing channel. But then there's also, of course, 57, which is clairaudience. Anyway, I was just curious if she had the.
I have 57, right?
I do too.
You do. I know you do.
That sounds right to me.
No, you don't, Andy.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I was just curious. But yeah, that but also, she has the environmental sensitivity, and the sound might actually be,
Right. Be
cueing into
that.
that. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to comment also on my experience
Oh, yeah.
because I need to like voice it to validate what happened. I'm so in this, as I've said before, liminal state in between, and I'm so in the flow of it that I was startled by my 6-year-old self who showed up as this perfect little girl with white socks and Mary Jane shoes and white gloves and
Cute.
perfect hair, straight, to here. I forgot that that's what I was like. And I was like, what is wrong? Oh, yeah, wow. I'm just trying to, be loose and free and chill and playful, and she was not. She was not. I was like, what are we going to do? And she had a dollhouse, and I said, well, what's the problem? Something's wrong. She said, there's no dog and there's no dog food, and I need to have a bowl, and I need to have a dog, and I need food in the bowl for the dog. It was sad.
Oh,
And I did get a dog later, just
yeah.
a couple years probably. But at that point, my brother was probably 2. And, that was enough for my mom. And apparently I was not real happy with him, and I wanted a dog instead.
Okay, so that's hilarious because I wanted a dog, and that came up in my experience just now too. And my
Oh,
parents literally broke the news to me about my baby brother by saying, instead of a dog, we're gonna have a baby.
Oh, no, that's a lot of
oh,
pressure on your brother.
So I spent the first 2 years of his life dressing him up as a dog, and then from there on out, I hated him. But it was like the worst possible way to break it to a child, to be like, we're not going to get a dog. We're going to get a brother instead. Like, no, don't do that.
I made my kids get turtles before they could have a dog,
That's a
but
good idea.
not other siblings.
Yeah.
Good call.
Wow.
Lori, I have to say, it was either yesterday or this morning. I was wondering because I know you just had another bout of grief with your mom because of
Yeah.
Mother's Day, and I was wondering
Yeah.
if Cece also, if you had some more grief about Cece come up around
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah. And then the weirdest thing, there was a lost dog in the neighborhood, and my husband happened to see it posted online and sent it to me. It literally looks exactly, I mean, okay, she's a Bichon Frise, and they all look similar.
Yeah.
I've seen dozens of them, and I've never seen one that looks just like Cece, and this one did.
Wow.
And so it kind of brought it all back. But Cece feels available to me, and comforting. My mom's not ready yet, and she
Oh, I
hasn't
see.
come to me yet. And so there's just a void there,
Yeah.
which, is just kind of weird. And, I sort of just sank into it. It was a 3-day arc, and the 3rd day was pretty awful. But then the 4th day I was fine. And that's just how it goes, And then I got those shots in my knees on day 4. So, God, the lows to the highs right now are just really dramatic. I'm just all over the place, but I'm enjoying what I can enjoy when I got it, and when I can't, then I honor it, respect it, go for it, let it happen, feel it, because I want to move through this. I remember vividly thinking many years ago that I would never survive the grief of the loss of my mother. And then being taught that that's against our religion, that we have an 11-month process for a reason, and that you have to put all of it into that 11 months so that at the end you're done, because it's forbidden to overgrieve.
Wow.
And being the drama queen that I am, I thought I should, of course, overgrieve. But, now I'm like, no. I want to live. And I'm becoming my age again. And I'm becoming so aware that I was living like a 90-year-old. I couldn't walk. I was walking with a cane. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't I couldn't do anything. And it's just amazing to me how the whole world is just starting to open up to me. I unpacked all the stuff that right after mom died, my daughter brought her dog, and we got a flea infestation.
Mm-hmm.
And I have lived without my own pillow, without my blankets and pillows on my couch and all that, all this time. They've been bagged up. I had 25 garbage bags of everything in my house that's soft. And it's all open up. And so all these good things are coming. It's all happening at the same time. And I'm really happy to enjoy and experience that.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Perfect little Mary Jane girl.
Why was your hair straight? Did you straighten it?
My mother must have, there wasn't such a thing in those days.
Yeah. Did she blow dry it out?
Then first of all, I did not have hair like this when I was growing up. Oh. I wore it straight and it was very wavy.
Oh, okay.
And then it would frizz up. And I wore braids a lot because there was no product for frizz back then. So I just wore braids, but that didn't start until I was older. So all the pictures of me at 6 and younger, I just had, a side part and straight hair. And then it just started coming over, when I was older.
Yeah. All the pictures of me when I was younger look like your hair. I had a perm.
Oh. Wow.
I had a perm when I was in 6th grade and then again in high school. Oh, it's the worst too because look at this fine hair. I can't survive a perm.
I have super thick hair and it looks phenomenal when it's curly. Like it's so
Julia
good.
Roberts.
That is the only time I like my hair long is when it is permed. Yeah, it's insane. It looks so much better on me than my normal hair.
So when you all were getting your perms at those ages, I was fresh out of college and a new teacher, and I had this very same hairdo with a perm. I did not know that my hair would do it without the perm.
So you get a perm. That's what you do.
Right. Oh, I've come full circle now.
Oh my goodness.
It's time to go.
Well, thanks for hanging out and
this was
everything. Fun. And well, Andy, we have animal communication on Sunday, and other than that,
and
we have
I will
a gap
be there
next
because
week.
This is my Sunday off.
Oh, cool!
So I will be there for that. I'm super
so glad.
Excited.
Great. Good.
Speaking of that, I have on my calendar that next week is a gap week again.
That's right. Yes,
it is. Okay.
Yes, I know we had to gap because of my stuff with HMI, but next week is Memorial Week and
Monday's Memorial Day, so.
And I actually still have content to catch up to post and everything from even the classes that we did when they weren't working right anyway. So next week is a gap week, and also I can't remember, 1 or 2 people was like, we're still gonna have the same gap week though, right? Because I already planned it, and so
Right.
But anyway, so we'll take a gap week next week. And
very much looking forward to doing more practice on that because I still can't talk to Butters. He popped in once just to say to me, do you remember when it was just us? And then I haven't been able to get him back again. And that just breaks my heart.
Oh.
So.
Well, yeah, good. Well, we'll have a nice time this Sunday. And gap week for this class. And but I'll post things and be notifying you guys as I post them. Okay.
Are you going to be at the in-person HMI immersive experience?
Okay. No, they don't invite everyone. So no, I wasn't invited, so I'm not going.
I have a friend who's now enrolled. I think she just finished 101 and she was just saying, hey, you want to go do this? And I'm like, okay, we could drive out to LA.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, let me know. I mean, yeah, we can meet or something, but unless they invite me, no, I'm not going to be there because they don't invite everyone. He only invites like his favorite senior staff.
Oh, wow.
I totally get it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm assuming we're not invited because we're not invited, and I'm not going to just show up because I don't want to be there if he's like not too many people. I don't know what the deal is, but they don't communicate terribly well sometimes. So yeah. Which as a student you would have been able to see that.
Yes.
And I try not to be judgmental because maybe it's just they're just like too busy, but
I mean. Deal. I was a professor for 10 years and still I've had 1 million degrees and that was still the best education I've ever had in any school ever, anywhere. And so, yes, there are problems, but those are problems that you would have administrating almost any college. And the quality of the education was still absolutely phenomenal. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'm willing to give George a pass for being George, because
Me too.
he's definitely freaking George.
Totally.
But you know, aren't we
Yeah,
all?
and that's the thing. I don't know if we're not invited or he doesn't realize he hasn't invited us. So that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I'm not going to show up unless they invite, because, I mean, maybe he doesn't want 20 extra people there. So,
Well, maybe if I decide that I can go and I am going, maybe I'll send a quick little message and I'll be like, "Will Tricia Carr be there? I really would love to meet my mentor," and
Yeah,
see if you get an invite.
well, yeah, and it might be just that it's a hole, and you know, they're like, yeah, it would be great if more people came, but I just don't know because they haven't said anything.
Probably
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'll let y'all go. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.
Thanks, Tricia.
Good night. Bye.